Today on the show, it's Comics Q&A, the show where you ask me Q's and I put them in the A. Josh French said, do you have any tips on comic book writing, and how do I write a good comic in general? My main piece of advice would be to learn how to write, and I don't mean fan fiction, because I do see a lot of people say, well, I roleplay and write fan fiction, so I'm learning how to write. And in actual fact, writing fan fiction and roleplaying is totally different to actually writing. Writing fan fiction and roleplaying will not give you practice in world building. And a large part of comic book writing is world building. If you're no good at world building, you might as well give up before you even start. I would say, learn how to write a good short story. Remember, a short story has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end without feeling like a beginning, a middle, and an end. It should just kind of feel like it all flows together naturally. Once you have short stories down, start learning how to translate a short story into a comic book script, which sounds a lot harder than it actually is. There are actually a number of ways to create comic book scripts. For example, I know Grant Morrison actually draws out the comic, turns that into the comic book script, and then sends the script off to the artist, and the artist never sees the original drawings. Personally, I don't do that. I take way too long to draw to do that. I just write a short story, then turn that into an extended script. I find that very easy to do, and it just works best for me. At BigBadBoo69 said, what makes a comic newcomer friendly? This all just comes down to personal perception of what newcomer friendly is. I actually know people that say every comic is newcomer friendly. I know people that say no comic is newcomer friendly. And then there's me. In my personal opinion, a newcomer-friendly comic is a comic book series that is self-contained, and if it does cross over into larger titles, you do not need the history of those larger titles to understand what's going on. Which is why She-Hulk and Ms. Marvel are good examples of newcomer-friendly comics, because you don't really need to know what's going on before those titles started to be able to really understand what's going on. Quat4242564 said, what characters do you think deserve their own comics in the New 52? I've said this before, I really do feel like there needs to be a series starring Tim Drake on his own. He had his own series from the early 90s right through to 2009, and even then he got his own series again right after that called Red Robin. Lots of people have said, well, he's in the Titans at the moment. Well, he was in the Titans and Young Justice when he had his own series before, and it worked perfectly fine. There is no reason he shouldn't have one right now. Especially when you take into consideration the fact that Bat Family titles at the moment are the best-selling titles at DC. So it's not a case of, oh, we're worried it wouldn't sell, because it would sell like hotcakes. Up until last week, I would have said a Black Adam series, but now there's hype around the Shazam movie, and I really wouldn't like to see that at the moment, just because comic books that are started up because a movie's coming out with that character in it tend to be a little bit soulless, and I'm really sensitive to a comic being soulless, like it can turn me away from a whole series forever. Kadeem Grace says, do you think Ben Affleck can live up to the role of Batman in the Batman vs Superman movie coming out next year? Personally, I think this Batman vs Superman movie is sounding like a convoluted mess so far, so I don't think any of the actors could live up to their characters. We already know the guy that's playing Superman cannot live up to Superman because that Man of Steel movie was such a hot mess. It was so shallow, I hated it, and that guy is not Superman. I don't care what anyone says. Then the Wonder Woman costume. I love the costume. That costume department did an A++ job. But Gal Gadot in the costume isn't right. Wonder Woman is supposed to be like a female bodybuilder. She is supposed to have a physique that looks like she could take down Superman just by looking at him. Wonder Woman is supposed to look like a female bodybuilder. She is supposed to be strong even if she didn't have her powers. And if you disagree with that, that's fine, just know I've heard your opinion and you're wrong. Plus we've apparently got Cyborg, Nightwing, Martian Manhunter and Aquaman all in this movie as well. It's like they're trying to expand the whole universe in one movie, which is a really bad idea. If you look at what Marvel Studios did, they released a movie, then another movie, then another movie, then another movie, and then they did the Avengers. They set the Avengers in an already established world. In this DC universe, we have the Superman movie. That's it, the world is not established. Nothing about this is screaming smart world building, and as a writer myself, everything that I've heard about this movie so far is just making me cringe. Jacqueline, I'm not gonna try and pronounce your last name, I'm sorry, said, how do you plan on getting into the comic book industry? And do you want to make your own stories or continue already existing ones? Well, to write for Marvel and DC these days, you do need to be an already established writer, which is why I'm working on a lot of my own stuff. I know I've been mentioning a comic that I'm looking for an artist for at the moment, and honestly, that comic means a lot to me because it took me like 2 years to write, and it's just got a lot of personal meaning, but I am working on another comic now that I'm planning to have a bit more of a universal feel, so I won't be as picky when it comes to the artist. But before any of you message me trying to be an artist for me, just know that I'm only interested in working with already established artists, and if you're in school or in college, then you will not have the time to be an artist for a running comic. I want all my current comics to be published by Image because I want the comics that get my name out there to be owned by me, not to be owned by Marvel and DC. When I work for DC and Marvel, I would like to write a Robin series. I'd kill to write the Teen Titans. I have a couple of ideas for a series about Osiris, and then on the Marvel side of things, I would love to write the New Mutants. The New Mutants is my thing. So yeah, there's a lot I want to do with my own creations, and there's a lot I want to do with existing characters. There's no full stop to creativity. It's super effective! Okay guys, that is it for today. If you have any questions you want me to answer in next month's Comics Q&A, please let me know in the comments down below. And also don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more Comics Q&A. And also don't forget to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, support the show by checking out my Patreon so we can make bigger and better videos when we hit that A-list character goal, and subscribe to my gaming channel. My name is Faust, this has been Exploring Comics, and it is super effective.